Hello, and welcome or welcome back to Leadership Trail Mix. I am Miguel Oliveira, and for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be together looking at one of the many ingredients that compose this art and science we call people leadership. My goal is that at the end of it, you can leave with some food for thought and inspiration to be a better leader for those you lead and a better human being for whoever you cross paths with. One song I never truly understood, as much as I like it, is that one from Coldplay that says, "Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you." That last sentence, "I will try to fix you," never made sense to me. And then I recently came across this show called Heartstopper on Netflix, and that sentence kept being used all the time. I kept hearing this person saying, "Oh, I want to fix you." And that really rubbed me the wrong way. What do you mean by fix me? That's what we're going to be talking about today. What is our role as leaders when it comes to fixing or not fixing people? So, my first statement for the day is, we cannot fix people. And here, I'm talking about beyond our roles as people leaders or as professionals. We cannot fix anyone. In fact, the mere intent or effort to fix someone can be very damaging for that relationship and for that individual. We have no control over other people's behaviors. I can't tell you how many times I've seen relationships between partners or friends get completely destroyed because one of them was trying to make the other fit into a mold. And the message that the person trying to be fixed heard was that they were not good enough for that other person, that they would have to give up something that matters to them and is foundational for who they are to be able to be in that relationship. I've seen those individuals who someone else was trying to fix get angry and leave, or even worse, I've seen them stay and grow resentful, seeing their self-confidence and their sense of worth decrease. And at this point, I need to say how much trying to fix people or make them conform goes against our role as inclusive leaders. Yes, we're talking about DEI here. Inclusivity happens when people can feel they can bring their authentic self to work. And I think I've said it before. I'm talking about their whole selves, not only a part of it. So whenever we try to fix people in the workplace, we're telling them, you are not good enough for us. The only way for you to make it here is by adjusting and letting go of pieces of who you are. I get it. This is a very tricky balance to strike because companies have cultures, because teams have ways of working. So to some extent, when we join a company, it's almost like we're moving to a new country where the laws and regulations and where the language and where the way people behave might be different from ours, and that's just unavoidable. However, I believe there is a limit. And while these limits can really vary from company to company, from team to team, from leader to leader, the guiding principle that should not vary is respect to people's individualities and celebration of who they are. That's why I love the concept of culture add. We should not be looking for culture fit. We should be looking for culture add in our teams. How can people, by being who they are, add to our culture, to the culture of our teams? How can they add value? Okay, enough about fixing you or fixing me. Let's talk about fixing it. And the idea of fixing it comes from a conversation I was very informally having with my husband about golfing. Yes, golfing again. After many years without golfing, Jim decided to go back to it. He bought a set of clubs and was explaining to me that you can fix your club. And by fix, it means adjusting it so that it can serve you well. If you have any specific way of swinging or hitting the ball, the angle of the club can be adjusted to match you. I found that amazing and had to make a note to add it to an episode, so here it is. Referring to the whole idea of control, influence, and concern that I shared on episode 22, while we cannot control other people's behaviors, while we can't fix them, we can make changes to the environment, to the processes, to the ways of working, to adjust to who they are, and consequently set them up for success. Let me share 2 examples that hit very close to home for me. Interestingly enough, they refer to 2 very different closets, and here I have closets in air quotes. where fixing it instead of fixing the individual would look very much the same. As most, if not all of you know, English is not my first language, and I cannot tell you how many times I found myself nodding and smiling to things that I don't fully understand. Sometimes I have the context, but that one word that I haven't heard before or just can't understand leaves a blank that I just cannot fill in. And while I believe I've made some progress, in the heat of the moment, it's not always easy, or it doesn't always feel safe to raise my hand and say, "Can you repeat, please?" As my leader, if you were to take a fix the person approach, it's pretty much my problem, right? Come on, Miguel, you're in the US. Learn it, Google it, try harder, maybe study more. On the other hand, if you were to take a fix the process approach, what could you do? Well, you could make sure that the key points you're trying to communicate also appear on a slide so that I can read it. You could look for at least 2 ways to explain the key points so that increases my chances of understanding it. Maybe add an image. You could normalize the use of auto-generated subtitles for meetings in our team. You could make sure to open the floor for questions at key moments in the meeting. You could even anticipate questions and volunteer them together with the answer. And while not fixing me, by taking these steps, you would be growing me. And that word that I didn't know existed will now become part of my vocabulary. You know who else could benefit from these adjustments to the process? People who cannot hear well. According to the National Council of Aging, hearing loss affects about 60.7 million Americans aged 12 and older. About 15.5%, 44.1 million of American adults aged 20 and older have some level of hearing loss. While someone who doesn't have English as their first language can learn, for those who can't hear well, even if they adopt hearing aids, hearing may still be a challenge. Is it all making sense? My invitation for us as people leaders is, what are the changes that we can make to things so people can thrive? People should always be above things. And here I need to make another link to diversity and inclusion to say that many times, for those who are part of minority and marginalized groups, they need to find the right environment to be able to proudly come out, no matter what closet they're in. I do believe that in our society, given the role the workplace plays in our lives and the amount of time we spend at work, either physically or virtually, we as leaders have the power to create environments that allow people to be who they are and make them comfortable, confident, and safe enough to be themselves. And I'm not talking about forcing people out of the closet, okay? Or making them wear badges that they're not ready to. I'm talking about understanding what changes we can make to the way we talk, the way we present ourselves, the way we work together, and the way we celebrate differences to help people in that process. I have a strong belief that the key for all of that is vulnerability. But that's a topic that we'll have to leave for a future episode. Our call to action today is only one. In the next 10 days, can we be very alert to any attempt of fixing people and ask ourselves, what are the things that I can fix so that this person can just be who they are? It might be a change in the length of a meeting. It might be a set of questions for them to think about. It might be a template. It might be a magic word that makes people stop and pay attention. Whatever it is, let's focus on fixing things, not on fixing people. That's all for today. If you know someone who can benefit from this reflection, feel free to share it. Thank you for listening. Take care and talk soon.